It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening, I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on beautiful St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Holiday Inn and all their properties. That's right, if you got to travel someplace and you need to stay in a hotel or motel or resort, whatever, make sure you stay at Holiday Inn property. My favorite, of course, is the Holiday Inn Resorts and the Holiday Inn Express. But I'll give you a better reason why you should stay at a Holiday Inn property, because we'll get you a discount. Everybody wants to save some money, right? Well, all you got to do to get a Billy C discount is call our toll-free number, 844-603-0364, 844-603-0364. Or just click the banner up on BillyCBoxing.com. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this very show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. You want a signed copy? Just click the book on the website, or if you're looking to get more than one copy, just email me. Yeah. Just email me, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and I'll hook you up with a special deal. But anyway, programming note, we won't be doing a live show again till next week. Apologize for that, but it is what it is. I told you guys, this sport is it's getting tough. It's getting tough to stay interested in. We got some fight, at least for me, we got some fight results from the weekend. And by the way, I'm probably going to open up the phone lines a little bit later on the show. So when I do, make sure you give us a call if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. We also have a Super Chat Monday going on in the chat room up on our YouTube channel. So if you want a question, comment, concern discussed, give us a Super Chat, and we'll do it that way as well. But first, coming up a little bit later on the show, I will be giving you guys an update on all of the fights that took place this past weekend, at least the major fights. But we'll see what happens coming up a little bit later with those fight results. I got some emails, but first I want to start off with this whole charade. I'm just so sick and tired of this whole Anthony Joshua against Deontay Wilder BS. I think one of my biggest hang-ups is the fact that these guys, and both these cats, I'm not just singling out either one, but both these guys are using social media to negotiate. He said, she said, I mean, all this crap. All I know is this, that Eddie Hearn, the guy who's clearly in the driver's seat, said that there would be a contract in Deontay Wilder's hands by Friday. We didn't get any confirmation from Team Wilder that he did indeed get a contract in his hands, but we did get a video that Deontay posted mocking not only Anthony Joshua, but of course Eddie Hearn as well, basically saying they're scared to fight him. Deontay Wilder went on to say he's the baddest man on the planet. I'm the baddest man on the planet. I'm the best. I'm just so sick of it. I caught a headline last week on ESPN that said, I think the title of the article was, "Who is Deontay Wilder?" Or maybe it was on another sports network, but who is Deontay Wilder? And this was a U.S. Sports site. Might have been Yahoo Sports. I don't know. I forget. Who is Deontay Wilder? Well, that's the key here. Who is he? We know who he is because we're diehard boxing fans, but the rest of the world doesn't, and the rest of the U.S. doesn't. When it was funny when before one of his fights, actually, it was Eddie Hearn that was walking the streets of Brooklyn asking people if they knew who Deontay Wilder was. And, at first they said no. When they saw a photo of him, they thought immediately that he was a basketball player. And I will admit, he does have the basketball player, physique, I think. If you look at all the superstar hoops players, a lot of them are built just like Deontay. But my man Johnston was kind enough to give us the latest update on this saga called Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. And this was from Friday, okay? So we didn't do a live show, so this was from Friday. And he said, good morning, Billy C. Eddie Hearn's confirmed that the contract is agreed upon, which Wilder will have by the end of the day. Now, this was on Friday, all right? And Eddie Hearn said, I quote, originally the plan was to fight Wilder at Wembley. We want to fight at Wembley badly. We can't do that now because of Canelo against Triple G. They've taken the date. And secondly, 10 weeks isn't long enough to do a worldwide media tour that we need for this fight. Now we're looking at October, November, but it would have to be in Cardiff, which isn't a problem. So we look at it and the dates. We take this seriously because it's a fight that AJ wants. Now we're putting, he said, we're putting the contract together and we'll have it to Wilder. This is all, these comments were taken on Friday morning. He says, Joshua's in camp, but if this drags, we're going to have to fight Povetkin, which doesn't mean we stop our negotiations with Wilder. We would still sign for a fight with Wilder, but it has to be after Povetkin. I'm not having Joshua's career held up by Wilder. We won't let it drag out. And then again, he reiterates about this would be a great fight for DAZN, D-A-Z-N, and we want to know because it's a lot of money for them, so they need to know soon. First of all, I think that to put it on that network would be the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The same reasons I gave last week about Terrence Crawford being basically screwed over by Bob Arum sticking him on ESPN Plus. Now, I'm not knocking the streaming services or their future capabilities, etc., 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 but when you're promoting a guy, and in this case we're talking about Terrence Crawford, you want to put him on a network or a viable service, let's just leave it at that the masses will see. Now, yes, I get it that the capabilities of a streaming service are endless, but not all boxing fans do it. I think that was almost like a kick in the face to Terrence Crawford, that Bob Arum is trying to keep him under wraps a little bit, preventing the worldwide recognition that I believe Terrence Crawford should have. The same type of a thing would take place if Eddie Hearn decides to put Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder on DAZN, D-A-Z-N. I always say that because I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I think it's a joke. I think it's a joke. Listen, this fight should have been signed. I am also pretty ticked off about the fact that they refer to this fight as being, it's not enough time to get it to have this fight in September. And by the way, Triple G and Canelo took the date. What? There's only one date in September. There's only one weekend in September where you hold fights. And if the theory here is that it's a pay-per-view, so we don't want to have the consumer have to shell out money for two pay-per-views in a one. Since when? Tell me this. Since when does the powers that be in the sport of boxing give a rat's ass about the consumer? This is the only frigging sport that fleeces the consumer more than any other. Every time you turn around, you're paying extra for something. We had to do it with Terrence Crawford. We have to do it with every big fight. So tell me, since when, Eddie Hearn, do people really care about shelling out more money? Since when do you care about the sport of boxing and its fans? Because if you did, Mr. Hearn, you would clearly have already made this fight. Now, whether Deontay Wilder is pulling, a BS charade with all his little cons and all of this little, we got 50 million and all of that, whether it's true or not, the proof is that the ball is in Anthony Joshua's court and Anthony Joshua meeting Eddie Hearn. It sounds to me that there is no question that the next fight for Anthony Joshua is against Alexander Povetkin. I said it all along that they didn't want this fight until next year, which is wrong. This fight needs to be made next. The next fight for both of them. There's no need for marination. There's not even need for a worldwide tour that he wants to do. Give me a break. Give me a break. You announced this fight, and it's going to go through the roof. And by the way, the other issue is this fight, in my opinion, would generate more pay-per-views than Triple G Canelo. I'm telling you. I don't care about Canelo's huge Mexican fan base. They've lost interest in him too. With all his shenanigans with the cheating and everything else, Saul Canelo Alvarez has dropped from favor with a lot of people, including myself. So, I mean, please, this is a charade. This is a classic fleecing of the boxing fan from the promoters / powers that be. I don't care. Let me tell you something. If Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder set this fight up today, and they said, hey, we want this fight, it's going to be taking place at Wembley Stadium September 15th. Or, the week before, or the week after, September 23rd, whatever the date is. I don't care what Showtime says, or I don't care what HBO says. I don't care what DAZN says. I don't care what anybody says. Guess what? They will make room on their programming schedule to show this fight. To suggest that we have to wait around for the completion of Canelo Triple G 2 is a joke. And to suggest that we have to wait around for Deontay Wilder to fight Dominic Breazeale and Anthony Joshua to fight Alexander Povetkin is a joke. Neither one of those fights anybody can give a rat's ass about. And the only thing I'll say is that Anthony Joshua against Povetkin will get Anthony Joshua another $20 million in his pocket. Well, how much is Deontay going to make from Dominic Brazil? Another $2 million, 2.5? Come on. This fight, it needs to take place now. It needs to take place now. I have not seen anything that is being positive about this. It's rhetoric. It's propaganda. It's BS. It's actually Deontay Wilder trying to increase his public notoriety by doing these outrageous things that he does, mimes and they're scared of me. I'm the best. I'm the baddest on the planet. I'm the best ever. All these stupid things. We all know that he's not. We already know he's not. I mean, come on. The truth of the matter is he's got a powerful punch, and that poses a problem for Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua says he wants to fight. Anthony Joshua says that he's not afraid, that he wants to challenge himself, just like he did against Vladimir Klitschko. So give him the fight. Is Eddie Hearn scared? Does that mean that no one in England will ever watch Anthony Joshua again if he loses? The beauty of boxing in Europe is that they don't hold it against the fighter when they come up with an L. That's the whole issue. The idiots here in the United States do. The idiots here in the United States that drive the programming schedules and the TV networks, they do, because they don't know anything about the sport of boxing. They think that the only type of fight that they can promote is against with a fighter with an undefeated record. They don't. That's why the promoters don't put their fighters in to see what they got early. That's why we see fighters. That's why we see fights exactly how we saw Errol Spence taking on his mandatory title challenger this past weekend. Didn't get out of the first round. I'll talk about that in a minute here. We're going to take a break. But in any event, I'm really sick of this whole Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder thing. As a result, we are not going to be doing a live show the rest of this week. This is it. This show that we're doing right now live will be the last one that we do until next week. Whether we decide to come back or not, I don't know. I've lost it. I've lost my interest in the sport. I don't like the way the fans are reacting, the young fans specifically. These fighters, the ones that want to get the job done are being held back by old senile promoters. I won't give you his name, but his initials are Bob Arum. I mean, come on. What he did to Terrence Crawford, it's sickening. It's sickening. And what's happening right now in the heavyweight division, the division that drives the sport, is sad. And who's to blame? We can praise Eddie Hearn all we want, but I got news for you. As of right now, I blame Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn could have got this fight made, but he hasn't. What's up with that? I don't know. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got the fight results from the weekend. We got the heavyweight roundup. I want to open up the phone lines in about 15 minutes or so. All of that is coming up in about 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote. Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604. Listen to.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. You know, I just want to say, I'm getting some comments in one of the chat rooms about, I'll be flat out. A guy that helps us a lot with the chat room itself is telling me, it's not Eddie Hearn's fault. I tell you, it is Eddie Hearn's fault, and I'll tell you why. And don't get me wrong. I think that. I think that a lot of the problems were all stemmed from Deontay Wilder's team, but the truth of the matter is Barry Hearn could have or Eddie Hearn could have made this fight happen. You know what really ticked me off last week was when they said when Deontay Wilder's team accepted the Now don't get me wrong, I can't stand the way that Team Wilder and this is the part that really gets me, because Team Wilder along with a guy like Shelly Finkel, who's been involved, are using social media to negotiate and to respond. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Okay? At the end of the day, it has to be a contract. But what bothered me was, even though that they did say, yeah, we're going to take it, and then Eddie Hearn says, well, then we'll get him a contract. We'll have it by Friday. This was on Monday. And you say to yourself, well, wait a minute. And my first argument last week was, wait a minute. You mean all of these negotiations are taking place without any kind of written contract? I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? I've never heard anything like that. Okay, never heard anything like that in my life. I went over it last week. I've promoted fights. I know how the system works. I've been in the system. I am in the system still. So I've never heard anything so ridiculous in my life. But let's assume that was the key, all right? Why would Eddie Hearn, a guy that's in position to make boatloads of cash on this fight, take 4 days to draw up a contract? I mean, are you kidding me? I don't care if he's got 9,000 other fighters he's got to deal with. I don't care if he's got 20 other big shows he's got to deal with. This is the type of fight and the money that could be made that has to stop everything and focus on that. I would have had a team of lawyers getting that contract together within hours of them explaining that they're saying, yeah, we take it. I would have had that and throw it back in their face the same way I'm telling you I don't like it. And it was the same way that Anthony Joshua should have responded to Deontay Wilder's challenge months ago, the same way he got it. Through multimedia, through social media, through emails, whatever they want to do. You want to play the stupid game? You want all these young fans who don't know it, a left hook from a fish hook? Yeah, if they're believing it, well, then play the game. Respond. I'll take your $50 million. Why didn't he do that? Why didn't Anthony Joshua do that? You know, all he had to do was reply to the post. I take it. I accept. Let's get it done. Bam. You know, as shallow as it really is, wouldn't it have just deneutralized, shut off, put out the fire with Deontay Wilder? Deontay Wilder is using social media to gain ground when he shouldn't. I mean, listen, Eddie Hearn is a smart businessman. He should have had this fight signed, sealed, and delivered already. At least he should have had the contracts in the hand of Deontay Wilder's team. And he should have said, the contracts are there. Now we're waiting. But no, he doesn't do that. He doesn't even get the we don't even know if the contracts are really in his hand. We don't know it. There was, as far as I'm concerned, there has not been a contract sent to Team Wilder. You know why I say that? Because Eddie Hearn, he loves the limelight just as much as Wilder. And if Eddie Hearn sent that contract, you could bet your last dollar that Eddie Hearn would have said, I sent it. I sent the contract. The contract's in Deontay Wilder's hands now. Blah, 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 blah. He would have done that. But he didn't. So that means he didn't send the contracts. So he's still writing them up. I got to write that contract. Jeez, what is it, a scroll? Is it 9,000 pages long? I mean, how long is it? Is he writing War and Peace? Is this contract like War and Peace? I mean, give me a break. The last time they were telling us the contract, all the particulars are done. We just need to figure out where now. Well, if all the particulars are done, and there was never a contract to get the particulars done by, what are you talking about? You know, we call this, and where I come from, the old circle jerk. That's what this is, boys and girls, the circle jerk. You know, whether you want to blame it on Eddie Hearn, whether you want to blame it on Deontay Wilder, the end result is we, the boxing fans, are getting screwed. Once again, we got screwed with Terrence Crawford being on a new network, so to speak. You know, at the advantage of his old senile promoter who was lying yesterday, telling the truth today, you know, Bob Arum, you know, and now we got to deal with this. Come on. You know, I mean, the truth of the matter is this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You know, my man Coach saying, why all about Hearn? Why do I say Hearn? Because he's in the driver's seat. Al Heyman doesn't write a check. Al Heyman doesn't pay for nothing. And if anybody thinks that Deontay Wilder has a promotional company that could have actually paid the $50 million, you're crazy. You're smoking crack or whatever is the newest thing today. You're crazy, all right? If they would have had the money, the fight would have taken place in the United States. They didn't have the money, okay? Whether you're a Deontay fan or not, they didn't have the money. They didn't have $50 million to guarantee Anthony Joshua before everything else. They didn't have the money, okay? So whether you believe that or not, it had nothing to do with Deontay Wilder's team. Deontay Wilder's team all along knew that Eddie Hearn and his team had to drive the bus. They were trying to get more money than the initial offer of $12.5 million. They succeeded. Whatever the deal is, whether it's 15, 20 million, whatever, they succeeded. Now the ball is clearly in Eddie Hearn's hands. Why isn't there a contract in Deontay Wilder's hands? Why are they stemming and circling around Triple G and Canelo's fight? Who gives a rat's ass? If the fight was the same week, I would love to have that fight be the same weekend. I would love it. You know why? Because I'll tell you right now that Deontay Wilder against Anthony Joshua blow away the views for Canelo Triple G. You know who would be upset with the fight being on the same weekend? Oscar De La Hoya would be upset because Oscar De La Hoya would lose his little fishnet stocking ass. I was going to say something else, but I'll just stick it at that, all right? So please, let's not play games. No one, let me just say this. No one is a bigger fan of Anthony Joshua than myself, okay? No one is a bigger fan of Anthony Joshua than myself. But enough is enough, all right? This fight has to be signed, sealed, and delivered, and it's not. I said all along, go back and watch the shows. I said that this fight would not happen till 2019. I said it. I said that this fight would not happen. Once and for all. All he had to do was send the contract. That's all he had to do. Send the questions answered. That would be great. If you want to get your thoughts, comments, or questions talked about, send us a super chat up on our YouTube chat room, all that stuff. In any event, I'm going to take a break, so don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Have osteoarthritis in one or both knees? If you have osteoarthritis in one or both knees, are you on Medicare, Obamacare, or other health insurance? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knees, covered by Medicare at little to absolutely no cost to you. We also offer a prescription strength topical pain relief ointment that can be used for pain experienced on other areas of your body. Our experienced staff will work with your doctor and handle all of your Medicare or insurance paperwork. Best of all, your prescription is shipped directly to your home for free. Will you qualify for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knee or for a topical pain relief ointment covered by Medicare or private insurance at little or no cost to you?
Find out for free by calling the Back and Knee Pain Center at 1-800-604-1072. That's 1-800-604-1072, 1-800-604-1072.
Medical alarms for people who fall or have medical emergencies. You never think you'll need one until you do. Hi, I'm Lonnie Anderson for Advantage Alert. Today, our advanced systems locate and protect people inside and outside their homes, plus when they're on the road, allowing users with the press of a button to speak with an operator who can summon help. And even after 30 years, Advantage Alert's products remain amazingly affordable.
Call 800-985-1705.
Addiction is an epidemic in America. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, you need to call the R360 Network now.
I'm Ken Seeley, author, addiction recovery specialist, and former addict. R360 is a nationwide network of addiction recovery specialists that I personally selected and recommend.
The call is free, the consultation is free. If you have private insurance, your treatment could be covered with no out-of-pocket cost.
Call 800-705-0023.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there.
Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C, damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. I wish we were talking about the date signed, sealed, and delivered between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, but we're not. But what we are going to talk about right now is the fact that we had some fight results over the weekend. I want to start off by saying, I was hoping I was wrong. I was hoping I was wrong on my predictions with the Errol Spence Carlos Ocampo fight from Saturday night. I said it wasn't going to be a competitive fight, and I knew that Errol Spence was going to blow away Ocampo. I didn't think it was going to happen in one round, and this is the issue that I have with the sport of boxing right now and all the sanctioning bodies. A fighter. When they start out boxing, whether it be for fun, whether they go from as a kid for fun or whatever, maybe they were getting in a little trouble and they wanted to do it for disciplinary action, and then they like it and then they start to compete as an amateur and then eventually turn pro. The ultimate goal, I would hope, is to become a world champion. And the sanctioning bodies give the vehicle to a fighter to achieve that. We can make the argument that there's too many sanctioning bodies, there's too many titles, there's too many weight classes, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, it provides, meaning the sanctioning bodies, provides an ending, so to speak, or a goal that a young fighter can set. The problem is that too often, and I would say most of the time, the sanctioning body is out for themselves. I think a great example of that was what transpired with Triple G recently with the IBF stripping him, even though they got 20,000 to hang out. In this case, Errol Spence, who a lot of people regard as, a top welterweight right now, if not the best, was forced to fight his mandatory challenger, which was Carlos Ocampo. If he didn't, the IBF would have stripped him of the title. Now, I think certain fighters reach a level where the titles don't mean anything to them. They don't need the titles. They're regarded by the fans as the best, as a champion, etc. And then when that happens, when a fighter is at that point, generally they get everything going their way with the sanctioning bodies. Again, I was shocked that Triple G didn't get that type of treatment from the IBF, but that's neither here nor there. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, two recent champions that were able to take advantage of what I'm saying. Well, Errol Spence, despite wanting to fight Terrence Crawford and Keith Thurman and the winner of Danny Garcia's next fight against Sean Porter, he had to fight Carlos Ocampo first. Now, as a consolation, they let him fight in Dallas at Cowboys or the training facility of the Cowboys, which was a personal goal of his. So at least he got that. Here's the deal. Errol Spence beat the snot out of Carlos Ocampo. Now, I will say this. It looked like, I'm watching this fight, and I said, I said that, I kind of was looking at this fight, and I'm going, in the beginning, I'm saying to myself, wow, does Errol Spence look like he's got some, chinks in his armor? You know, is there some weaknesses there? You know, because I'm seeing El Campo landing some shots, some body shots. You know, a guy of his level. I mean, let's be real. He was young. I know he was undefeated, but he never fought anybody that was a top contender, let alone fighting a guy like Errol Spence. And then all of a sudden the lights went out, and Carlos Ocampo got hit with that body shot that finally we got a good camera angle to see it. But Errol Spence knocked him out with I think there was a second left, 2 minutes and 59 seconds of the first round to retain his belt. Over 14,000 people at the Ford Center, which is their training facility at the Dallas Cowboys. Spence looked great for that 2 minutes and 59 seconds. He improved to 25-0 with 21 knockouts. Carlos Ocampo dropped to 22-1 with 13 knockouts. I think Ocampo is a good fighter. I think that he's going to be an up-and-coming guy to keep an eye on, and but he was not ready for Errol Spence. Moving on, the co-main event, Daniel Roman fought Moses Flores. However, Flores had come in heavy, so once again, whether the fighters are fighting out of weight class or whether the discipline is just not there, I don't know. But Daniel Roman ended up winning this fight, 116-112, 118-110, 120 to 108, all for Daniel Roman. The fight between Javier Fortuna and Adrian Granados, when there were 10 seconds left in the round, Fortuna fell out of the ring and acted like he hit his head. Was taken out on a stretcher. I don't know what to think of that. I watched that replay every time they showed it. Then I watched it myself. And I got to be honest, I did not see his head hit anything. Now, one of the announcers had said, well, maybe the way he snapped down, maybe he got like a whiplash. Maybe. And I'm not, going to suggest that he was faking it or anything like that. But if you watch the replay closely, when he got pushed through the ropes, which he did, and those ropes, incidentally, were not tight, I thought I saw him lunge himself, and I'm talking about Fortuna, lunge himself with his legs to, kind of get out of that ring, like to maybe emphasize that he was pushed through the ropes, and then snapped his neck or banged his head on an area we couldn't see from a camera angle. That's what I thought. I thought that he was trying to get the fight, get a DQ or something. But that is just my opinion of that. But nonetheless, it stopped before the end of the fourth round, meaning it's a no decision. So that's what took place on that card. All in all, I got to be honest with you. I didn't think, with the exception of Errol Spence, I didn't think that fight card deserved to be on a cable network. Daniel Roman and Flores, yes, one undefeated fighter going up against Daniel Roman, who was the champ. One guy doesn't make weight. They're not big names. Maybe as the opener, instead of the Fortuna Granados fight, another fight I'm not so sure deserved to be on a card like that. I'm sorry. I still believe that the cable network should be a vehicle for top fights, and then the ultimate top fights, obviously on a pay-per-view. But that's just my humble opinion. Phone line is open if you want to give us a call, 845-228-8710. What's your thoughts on whatever? Some other fights that took place. 2016 Olympian Josh Kelly improved to 7-0 with 5 knockouts when he took care of Chris George and took his belt while he was at it. Chris George drops to 14-2 with 8 knockouts. He was stopped in the 7th round. Also on that card, Louis Ritson improved to 16-0 with 10 knockouts when he took care of Paul Highland Jr., losing for the first time in his career. He drops to 18-1. And Gavin McDonald retained his international title. This cracked me up, too. When he won a fight over Stuart Hall, which I thought this was going to be more of an entertaining fight. It wasn't that entertaining. I mean, it was a one-sided fight for Gavin McDonald as the judges saw it. 115-113 was the closest score, but the other two had it 117-111. McDonald improved to 20 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws. Stuart Hall drops to 21-7 losses and a couple of draws. And Ricky Burns trying to think he's going to continue his career. They gave him a "you better win this one, Ricky" fight, and he did beat Ivan Najakic in the when he couldn't come out for the 5th round. Burns improves to 42 wins, 7 losses, and a draw. Andres Fonfara improved to 30 wins and 5 losses when he scored a 6th round knockout over Ismail Salika in their fight that took place on Saturday. So he's back in the winning ways, I should say. Also, a guy that's picking up some steam in terms of popularity, Richard Popeye the Sailor Man Rivera remained undefeated. He improved to 8-0 when he knocked out Jamie Solario in the 8th round. Solario drops to 14-2. That took place in Hartford. Some other fights that also took place in where was this fight? In Mexico. Former world champ Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. Improved to 25 wins, 7 losses, and 2 draws with 20 knockouts when he knocked out, brutally I might add, the hometown favorite who said he was making his last appearance and wanted to put on a show for his hometown. Christian Mahares was knocked out in the 3rd round with a shot that just crumbled him to the canvas. Mahares leaves his career 59 wins, 9 losses, and 2 draws with 27 knockouts. The co-main event was actually a good matchup between Jose Piston Lopez, who won a majority decision to improve 28 wins, 6 losses, and a couple of draws over Roberto Massa Ortiz, who drops the 3rd fight in his career. He's now 35-3-2. Some heavyweight. And here's the heavyweight picture. There was a fight that took place in Toledo, Ohio. It was billed as a hometown bragging rights between 2 heavyweights. Cassius Anderson against Marcus Valentine. Valentine looked like he ate a little too many Valentine candies. I mean, pretty. I can't stand seeing fighters that out of shape, even in the heavyweight division. But it looked like it was going to be a decent scrap until towards the end of the 4th round. Anderson kind of pushed Valentine through the ropes, but the referee called it a knockdown. Marcus was kind of going to the floor, but his corner prevented him. They caught him and, held him. Because they did that, and I don't know if you guys know this, but if a fighter gets hit through the ropes, not pushed, but when it's considered a punch and he goes through the ropes, he does have more than 10 seconds. He gets 20 seconds to get back in the ring under his own power. Because the referee, his name was Jamie Howe, called it a knockdown, the fact that his corner helped him up earned an immediate disqualification. So at the end of the night, Anderson improved to 5-1 with 3 knockouts, and Valentine lost for the second time in his career via, the first time it was a DQ, but 5-2. They're both crying for a rematch, so we'll see what happens with that one. But some other heavyweight fights that took place over the weekend. In Quebec, Canada, Simon Keane improved to 15-0 when he stopped Adam Braidwood via a third-round stoppage of a scheduled 10-round fight, and Braidwood drops to 13-2. Marco Captain Huck in Germany, there were 3 heavyweights on the card, and Marco Captain Huck comes back. If you guys recall, he was considered the best cruiserweight in the world for a long time. I loved him. He had already fought at heavyweight once before. He challenged Alexander Povetkin, and I thought he won that fight, to be honest with you. I thought that he had been winning that fight, I should say. But in any event, he improves to 41 wins, 5 losses, and a draw when he stopped his opponent in the 4th round of a scheduled 10-round fight. Jakob Saglam drops to 40 wins and 5 losses. Also on that card from Germany, Petar Milaz improved to 12-0 with a 10-round unanimous decision victory over Francisco Piata, who at one time was a pretty highly thought heavyweight. He drops to 35-4-1. And Kem Lundqvist improved to 4-0 when he won a 6-round unanimous decision over Andre Bunga, who drops to 4-12 with a draw. In Warsaw, Poland, Michael Olas improved to 6-0 when he knocked out Ramzili Gagzishvili in the 3rd round of a scheduled 8-round fight. Gagzishvili drops to 32 wins, 26 losses, and a couple of draws. In St. Petersburg, Florida, Ivan Duncho improved to 6-0 when he stopped Michael Marone in the 1st round of a scheduled 8. Hey, Mike. Now, Michael Marone, he dropped to 21-9. I came real close to trying to help Mike Marone. He was so money hungry, but man, was he preaching to me, saying how he's dedicated himself, blah, blah, blah. He's lost a bunch in a row right now. He loses to a 5-0 fighter who's now 6-0 in the 1st round. Mike, make no mistake, Mike Marone was looking for a payday. These are the kinds of fights that boxing has to police a little better. Also on that card, in St. Pete, Cade Rodriguez improved to 2-1 when he knocked out Gary Kelly in the 2nd round of a scheduled 4. Kelly drops to 1-7. And then over in the UK at Bethel Green at York Hall, Joe Joyce got in the ring again. He improved to 5-0 when he stopped his opponent, Ivaka Bakurin, in the very 1st round. Bakurin drops to 30 wins, 14 losses, and a draw. But there's an asterisk next to it. It really appears that Bakurin was not only was he a last-minute sub, but he went down and out from a punch that, if you watch there's a video up on YouTube. If you watch it, I didn't see it really hit him that hard, but it looked like Gary Kelly was brought in. Maybe had his blood work all set. I don't know, but was taken out pretty quick. It doesn't help Joe Joyce much when he gets an opponent like that. Also on that card, 2 pro debuters. You knew one guy was going to end up with a win, one guy was going to end up with a loss, unless they fought to a draw, right? Well, that didn't happen. George Fox improved to 1-0 when he won a 4-round points decision over Phil Williams, who drops to 0-1. So that takes care of the fights that took place this past weekend in the big fights, and then of course in the heavyweight division. You guys know that I've been doing this heavyweight roundup. Speaking of roundup, you got any thoughts on what's really got me aggravated today to the max? You could give us a call, 845-228-8710, or send us a super chat over in the YouTube chat room, and we'll be glad to have your comments, thoughts, questions, whatever, part of the show. But in any event, I got a couple of emails. This first one is from my man Chip, more commonly known as Mitch. He says, hey, Billy C., this is sweet justice. He goes, remember when Triple G wanted to unify the belt with Billy Joe Saunders and kept BSing him? Then his team said he'd be ready to fight Triple G in 18 months. Yeah, we had a lot of airtime out of that. We got a lot of airplay, I should say, out of that. That was a joke. He says, well, Billy Joe Saunders canceled his fight with Martin Murray. They moved the date and they pulled out again. We speculated that the reason they pulled out the second time was because he was negotiating with either Canelo or Triple G, or both. It turns out that the negotiation was indeed Triple G. He says Team Triple G played both sides, Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders, against each other. The fact that there was a deal in place means that Martin Murray was about to get played for a sucker again by Billy Joe Saunders. How sweet is it that Triple G, he says, how sweet is it that Triple G got his big money rematch, and now Billy Joe Saunders is without a big fight with either Triple G or Canelo. Now Billy Joe Saunders can wait for the winner on September 15th to decide if they want to face him or not. He went from having two choices for a big money fight to no choices. You mess around too much, and sometimes you get what you deserve. Sucker. This is my man Mitch. He says there were. I agree. But I agree. Yes, but unfortunately, in the sport of boxing, the most important thing is to get as much money as you can get, right? But you shouldn't do it at another fighter's expense. I think the point that Mitch is making here is that Billy Joe Saunders had a fight signed, sealed, and delivered, and instead he, got greedy. Instead of fighting Martin Murray, he got greedy and tried to, get himself some more money, and he ended up with nothing. You got to understand when you're dealing with Oscar De La Hoya, there's no guarantee until the bell rings. And Triple G was smart. Triple G actually did what I feel he should have done a long time ago. Flex his muscle, take into account that he is a draw. People keep saying that this guy's not a draw. Everybody I talk to that's not even boxing fans have heard of Triple G. He's got this allure about him. And, although he hasn't been that same destructive force, he's still, most people still think he beat Canelo. And Canelo had to fight Triple G because if he didn't take on Triple G, then it would have hurt him even more, I think. Anyway, another point from Mitch. He says, Dillian White against Joseph Parker has already hit over 12,000 tickets sold. I wonder if we had the equivalent to those two fighters in the United States, how the tickets would sell. Maybe 1,200 at this point. Even he says only at the theater at Madison Square Garden. He says he wanted to tell me a couple of other things and he keeps forgetting. He says his mind is going. But, this is something that I say all the time. The truth of the matter is that here in the United States, and this is why I hope that we get a lot more fights take place overseas. And I'm not trying to take the fights away from us here in the States, but I like to watch fights when there's a huge crowd that generates energy and the fighters respond. We've heard this from fighters many, many times, that they respond to the cheers or jeers of the fans in attendance. When you go over to Europe, generally, especially we're talking about England here, they're packing stadiums, man. They're packing stadiums. Our best pay-per-view guy was Floyd Mayweather. He still didn't even sell out. The most he ever sold, I think, Live Gate was what, 15,000 and change. I know people say, well, yeah, but they were selling those tickets for $500 for nosebleed seats. You know, oh, he draws. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. You know, the fact is the fact. The truth of the matter is that, you know, when we have a big fight here in the States, and the reason why they have them in Vegas a lot is because, you know, the casinos can always fill up these places with their high rollers. Excuse me. You know, they can fill up their venues with the high rollers or whatever. But over in England, they pack stadiums, man. They pack stadiums. Dillian White against Joseph Parker. Yes, it's a great fight. 12,000 tickets sold already? I think that's huge. And the analogy that Mitch made, that if a fight, you know, even if we had two big names, 1,200. You know, the last fight against Deontay Wilder, a great example of that, Mitch, is Deontay Wilder when he fought Luis Ortiz. There was a fear that fight was going to look like an empty venue. You know, it finally filled up. A lot of rumor has it that they gave away a lot of tickets. But the truth of the matter, not that it wasn't a high-demand fight. I'm not suggesting that. But the point is that here in the States, it just seems that people like to stay home more than they do elsewhere. Hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got some more opinions on the state of boxing and why I'm so ticked off at it. I'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Have osteoarthritis in one or both knees? If you have osteoarthritis in one or both knees, are you on Medicare, Obamacare, or other health insurance? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knees, covered by Medicare at little to absolutely no cost to you. We also offer a prescription strength topical pain relief ointment that can be used for pain experienced on other areas of your body. Our experienced staff will work with your doctor and handle all of your Medicare or insurance paperwork. Best of all, your prescription is shipped directly to your home for free. Will you qualify for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knee or for a topical pain relief ointment covered by Medicare or private insurance at little or no cost to you?
Find out for free by calling the Back and Knee Pain Center at 1-800-604-1072. That's 1-800-604-1072, 1-800-604-1072.
Medical alarms for people who fall or have medical emergencies. You never think you'll need one until you do. Hi, I'm Lonnie Anderson for Advantage Alert. Today, our advanced systems locate and protect people inside and outside their homes, plus when they're on the road, allowing users with the press of a button to speak with an operator who can summon help. And even after 30 years, Advantage Alert's products remain amazingly affordable.
Call 800-985-1705.
Addiction is an epidemic in America. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, you need to call the R360 Network now.
I'm Ken Seeley, author, addiction recovery specialist, and former addict. R360 is a nationwide network of addiction recovery specialists that I personally selected and recommend.
The call is free, the consultation is free. If you have private insurance, your treatment could be covered with no out-of-pocket cost.
Call 800-705-0023.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Don't forget, phone lines open, 845-228-8710. Don't be scared. Or send us a super chat. Before to break, I was talking about an email that my man Mitch sent me, and he was pointing out the fight between Dillian White and Joseph Parker, former WBO world champion, and the fact that it sold out over 12,000 tickets already. And, I was saying how here in the U.S., they don't do that. And when I mean they don't do it, people don't have a tendency to go to the live boxing events like they do other events. And I still don't understand why, because if somebody out there happens to be watching this show and you're not a diehard boxing fan and you've never, been if you've never been to a live event, you got to check one out. Boxing is the type of sport that it's totally different when you watch it live than compared to other sports. For an example, I had season tickets for the New York Jets for 30 years. And, what I learned over that time was not only was it very disheartening for me to drive home after the Jets lost, but I had to deal with a lot of stuff from the stands. My seats were good, but I was in the middle of a section. So, the guy next to me that ordered a hot dog, it got passed all the way down, all those hands on that hot dog right in front of your face. And then you get, but the more important things is the view that I used to get from my seats were better than I could see at home. With technologies and the way they filmed football games was the fact that you actually get a better view and camera shots watching it at home than you do on live. So the TV actually has better camera angles and stuff than you see live because you're distracted. Well, boxing is the opposite. Yes, you have the benefit of the replay. Like, for an example, this past weekend, we see Carlos Ocampo crumble to the canvas, can't get up. We're saying to ourselves, what just happened? And then, thankfully, the guys in the truck were able to produce a reverse angle shot, and we got to see the punch that landed on his midsection that knocked him out. And one of the most important things that I feel goes hand in hand with boxing live is the excitement level. That juice, that adrenaline that gets going. And I hate to sound barbaric, but at least in my era, you ever see a fight? Like, I'm not talking about an organized fight. I'm talking about a schoolyard fight, a neighborhood fight, an alley fight. And, whether you're in it or whether you're watching it, you get jacked up, all right? And that's the feeling you get when you're watching a fight live. And if you are going to watch a fight live, to see it ringside, close is like nothing else. With that said, still, a lot of people here in the United States prefer to sit on their fat asses and watch it on their TV set or however they're getting it. Whereas in Europe, specifically England, they pack the stadiums, and we get that excitement level that emanates from the fans. The fighters themselves rise to the occasion, and the end result is something a lot more exciting. In my opinion, getting back to the Anthony Joshua Deontay Wilder fight that hasn't been signed yet, to me there was no question that fight deserved to be in the UK. Not only because I feel that Anthony Joshua is clearly the A side here, but I also felt that we needed to feel that excitement from the live audience, and if the fight happens, which I don't think it's going to happen this year, it couldn't have happened anywhere else. But in any event, with that said, I've been a supporter of Eddie Hearn for a long time. I liked his father when his father was running the show, but Eddie has done a great job. He's gotten himself some great fighters under his banner. He's putting on the fights that people want to see. Domestically in England, he is not afraid to put his fighters in against a quality opponent. These are all things that make him, in my mind, at least in my opinion, that he's the top promoter, the top active promoter in the sport today. I don't think anyone comes close to that. But the truth of the matter is that he's failing us now. And I say he's failing us because I don't think that he is making the effort that I feel he should. Now, in his defense again, it could very well be a case of the boy who cried wolf. And if nobody knows what I'm talking about, go read the book. Whereas he didn't want to look like an idiot. But this is where my frustration really comes to a head because, as much as I disagree with the antics that Deontay Wilder and his team, even Shelley Finkel, have employed to try to get this fight signed, sealed, and delivered, or at least act like they want it, the way that they've tried it, through social media, through email blasts, through he said, she said, through, I said social media, but, just so you know, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Eddie Hearn wants to be a guy that doesn't want to be taken advantage of, made to look like a fool. Well, if I'm Eddie Hearn, I would have had that contract over to Wilder immediately. The day he said we'll take it, I would have dropped everything and had a fight contract ready for him to sign that day. Okay? The fact that he didn't, and then he said, well, if they're really serious, we'll see if they're serious, we'll see if they're serious, we'll see if they're serious. You put a contract in front of him, and you'll see if he's serious. Then Eddie could have employed the same tactics that Team Wilder used against him. And that would have been social media, even though I'm against it. Social media, blah, 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 right? And call the bluff. But instead, you have two sides of the fence. You got, all of the Wilder fans who think it's Eddie Hearn, all of the Joshua fans who think it's Wilder, and, at the end of the day, who's getting screwed? We are. We're getting screwed. The boxing fan. I just want to ask this question. If the fight doesn't get made, or if they come up with an announcement, which very well may be where they say, hey, we got the fight signed. We got the fight signed. Here we go. The fight signed, sealed, and delivered. And but here's the stipulation. We're each going to fight our mandatories first. But we got to sign contracts. So as soon as, providing we both win, we're gonna fight. How would you feel? How would you feel about that? Would you feel that you succeeded to a degree? Would you feel that you're being screwed still? I mean, how would you feel? Whose fault really is it? Is it our fault? Is it the fans' fault? Because in a way, people like myself who keep talking about this are actually putting fuel in the fire, right? I mean, if the fans just did not communicate at all, did not respond to the games that, Deontay Wilder started, really. I'm going to kill somebody in the ring. I'm going to kill somebody in the ring. I feel it. I want to kill somebody in the ring. Listen, this guy, in any other sport, they would have, he would have been on some kind of suspension. Not in boxing. In boxing, he gets more followers for saying that. So my point is it our fault for continuing to fuel the fire? Very well could be. Very well could be. But at the end of the day, this fight should have already been signed. And we move on to Triple G Canelo. That fight's signed. It's going to be interesting to see what happens from this point on with the promotion of Triple G Canelo. Right now, the truth of the matter is that Canelo and his team are trying to make him be the victim, which, it's quite the magician's act to be successful at that. I mean, sleight of hand, right? Did Triple G win anything here? I'm still curious. I'm still curious about how they're going to bill it. Remember how Nobody's Cutting Loose is they're cutting loose with the fact that hey, we're gonna they weren't telling everyone what the final deals were with the negotiation, the Hail Mary. I'm telling you, I have a feeling that this fight, the billing is going to change. So I'm curious to see when the fight posters come. I haven't seen a fight poster yet. Maybe they're already out. But I'm curious to see if it changes. If it changes, and it says Triple G versus Canelo rather than Canelo versus Triple G. We'll see about that. But hopefully it does something, because if it's just about the money, why would they be afraid to mention it? I don't get it. But in any event, we'll see what happens with that. I think that that fight had lost a lot of luster. I think that a lot of people were turned off by everything involved with that fight, and I think that the numbers may not even do as good as the first fight, which is ridiculous if you think about it. But I wouldn't be shocked. There's a lot of people that are turned off by Canelo, and for me, I'm turned off by Canelo because of his attitude as well. That he's, impervious to the rules and regulations, etc. And I'm also a little disappointed that they decided to have that fight in Nevada again. I think that is another statement that, we as boxing fans need to make, that, we don't want these, BS commissions to drive the sport. And that's what's happening, I mean, I understand that, just like the WBA president said, well, now there's so much outrage because of the cheating that more people are going to want it because of the PEDs, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. If you're just tuning in, we will not be doing a live show the rest of the week. We won't be back till next week, and if we are not coming back at all, you keep your eyes open for an announcement via email or whatever. It is what it is. We have a trivia question that's been floating around, and did I give the answer? Did somebody get this one? No, I gave a hint, and I'll give it one more time. We're stumping you on this one. Now, what I've been doing with the trivia questions is when we do stump you, we don't. I don't give you the answer because I use it again. I want to recycle it. So this is pretty much of a tough one, but I gave a big hint. So if you didn't stick around and listen, you missed a big hint. So I'm going to do it one more time. If you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. You'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. The question is, what was the biggest height difference between two men in the same division for a world title fight, excluding the heavyweight division? That means not counting the heavyweights, all right? What was the biggest difference between two men in the same division for a world title fight, excluding the heavyweights? If you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, then you will win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. I'm going to give you the hint right now. What is the biggest height difference between two men in the same division for a world title fight, excluding the heavyweights? Well, the fight that I'm talking about, and by the way, I want the names of the fighters and the height difference. You could give me the names of the fighters and the fight and still win without the height difference, but you can't just take a guess of the height difference and win. The hint here is that when they fought, the fight was in the flyweight division. And I'm going to throw you another hint. The champion was the taller guy. The champion was the taller guy. So if you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. Good luck to everyone at that one. One other thing I wanted to say was that, some possible things that, have been going through my mind about the show and continuing and the sport itself, et cetera, et cetera. We used to do a lot of the post-fight shows, and it's something that we enjoyed doing. And if we do cease this daily show, we would, do a weekly show, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to stay into a sport that is just losing it. And you could say, what are you talking about, Billy C? We got some great fights. We got some great fighters. We have great fighters. We really do. And I think that that's the most disheartening part of it all, that we have a lot of young, talented fighters out there that are on their way up, that are going to continue to feed the pool of fighters as time goes on. The problem is at least here in the States, these young fighters that are becoming prospects and climbing the ladder into becoming a contender, and then, of course, to get the world title shot, are similar to what we witnessed on Saturday night with Carlos Ocampo. Now, no disrespect to Carlos Ocampo. He's only 22 years old, and he's got a long career in front of him. And I don't think he was born in the U.S. As a matter of fact, I know he's not. He may be residing in the U.S. now. But my point is that he latched onto a U.S. promoter, and they've, protected him. When I was breaking down the fights on Friday, you saw all of his fights. I think it was the last 6 or 7 fights were all against very, very calculated opponents. And then the result, because of the corrupt sanctioning bodies, is that he gets a world title shot. Now, unfortunately for Carlos Ocampo, he got put in there with a legitimate, talented fighter in Errol Spence. So, and then you're going to have people that aren't knowledgeable of this sport saying, well, Carlos Ocampo, he was exposed. The guy's a fraud. He wasn't good. Well, is it his fault? That's my point. Is it the fighter's fault? How often do we hear fighters say, well, hey, listen, it's not my, it's not my, decision. I don't make the rules. I just fight whoever they put in front of me, But I don't know. I don't know. It's very frustrating, and I thank God for the European fighters, because the European fighters and the Ukrainian fighters and the Japanese fighters, the Mexican fighters, these are all fighters that are willing to fight anyone, any place, anytime. They don't just say it like a lot of them, like the Charlo brothers. I don't know about you, but I'm sick of hearing the rhetoric from those two. Yeah, we'll fight anybody. Yeah, okay. Well, I can't help but get that video. I think my man Coach sent me a video of down below the Madison Square Garden or the Barclays Center, wherever it was. Daniel Jacobs just happens to be walking by, and Charlo says something to him, and Daniel Jacobs stops face to face, nobody around Daniel Jacobs. The two Charlo brothers are there, and somebody with a phone recording it, and Jacobs is going, man, don't be giving me any of your BS. Basically, I'm paraphrasing here. Don't be giving me any of your BS. You fight, you win, you'll earn a shot with me. End of story. And then you didn't see nothing. You saw the looks on his face. Typical, when a bully gets shut up, And I have forever had that image of both those guys, because I can't tell them apart, especially this past weekend when they're doing their hair the same, But very disheartening, the direction things are going, even though we're in probably the best resurgence that this sport has seen in a decade. These last, and I'm talking about these last 2.5 years, have been a clear resurgence. But still, it seems we get a lot of competitive fights, like the fights this weekend that were on Showtime. It wasn't that they weren't. The Spence fight wasn't competitive. It wasn't that the other fights weren't competitive. It's just that I didn't believe that they belong on a cable network like Showtime or HBO. They should have been on ESPN or, another network, FS1, something like that. Anyway, on this day in boxing history, June 18th, in 2005, here's another one. This guy, Antonio Tarver. I don't know about you, but Antonio Tarver, to me, was one of the biggest smokescreen fighters ever to win a championship. I was never impressed with Antonio Tarver, especially when I met him in person. But anyway, on this day in 2005, Antonio Tarver wins a 12-round decision over Glenn Johnson to win the world light heavyweight title. It took place in Tennessee. On this day in 1976, Eckerd Dage knocks out Elisha Obed in the 10th round to win the WBC World Junior Middleweight title. It took place in Berlin, Germany. On this day in 1965, Nino Benvenuti, I screwed that up, huh? Nino Benvenuti knocks out Sandro Mazzaghi in the 6th round to win the World Junior Middleweight title, and that took place in Italy. On this day in 1929, Panama Al Brown wins a 15-round decision over Vidal Gregorio to win the vacant World Bantamweight title, and that took place in Long Island City, New York. On this day in 1923, one of the greatest flyweights in the history of the sport, who died in his 20s from an infection in his tooth, Pancho Villa, knocks out Jimmy Wilde in the 7th round to win the world flyweight title. It took place in New York City. If you don't think this was a great feat, look up Jimmy Wilde's record going into this fight. Look it up. Look it up. We talk about this 50-0 BS that Fayweather brags about. Look at this guy's record going into this fight. And Pancho Villa beat him. And finally, on this day in 1941, the Bronx Bomber, I said Bronx, not bronze, the Bronx Bomber, the original Bronx Bomber, Joe Louis, knocks out Billy Conn in the 13th round to retain his world heavyweight title, and that took place at the Polo Grounds in New York City. What a significant fight this was. And this fight would live on forever to this day for both of these fighters. Wherever they went, they were asked about this fight. This was the fight that Billy Conn was winning until the 13th round. He had all the answers until the 13th round. And why did it crumble down for Billy Conn? Because Billy Conn was trying to go for the knockout. And that's exactly what Joe Louis needed him to do. But in any event, listen, boys and girls, I announced this at the beginning of the show. This is our last live show until Monday. We'll be back on June 25th. Need some time to recharge here. And in the meantime, drop me an email with your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, whatever, on the fights we talked about today, on the future of boxing, on anything that you want on this show, if you'd like. Drop me an email. Would love to hear from you. Billy at Talkin' Boxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. And while you're at it, I want to thank everyone that already has emailed me about where they get the show, how they watch it, and et cetera, et cetera. If you haven't had a chance to do that, we're still compiling some data, so that would be great if you could drop me an email. Tell me how you watch or listen to the show. It would be appreciated. Hey, listen, boys and girls, make sure you tune in Monday morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.